Hello and welcome to Clippy Game. It's just finished. Leicester City 1, West Ham United 1. Drama as Leicester City equalised in the 89th minute with a massive deflection. We're here to talk about highlights, and there's a few of them to get through. Gordon, on the 30th minute, the first half hour of the game, what did you make of it?
It was mostly Leicester. I think we pulled up in the preview, and you might have said in the preview just for the game as well, about how they started slowly and they tend to start slowly, whereas the opposite here, they were definitely the better side in the opening 15, 20, 25 minutes, put a lot of pressure on us and then created some all right chances, but just as it seemed to be for the entire game, they just looked like they couldn't finish it. And then eventually, it was, I don't know what happened, but eventually we just started to grow into it, like finding the players. Diangana woke up, we began to get control in the midfield, and we started to push forward. And from that moment onwards, I actually think that the first half was probably best for us, actually, rather than them.
Yeah, the first half, I would say it was all Leicester, if you like. We were struggling to string a few passes together. The only pass that we could do was back to Fabianski. I think at one point, he had 9 touches of the ball. Our outfielder, the one with the most touches, had 3, and that was Balbuena or something. Storms, so to speak. Leicester had to come out firing today. They had to come out the traps. There's a lot of pressure on them. We kept them at arm's length. While they had bits and pieces, they didn't have any clear-cut chances. Fabianski had to be alert for Balbuena's header at one point. But then when we went forward, as soon as we got into the third, there was a little bit of play between Zabaleta, Diangana, and then Anderson ended up taking a shot off it. And I thought they made it look fast, and they got a shot away. Something Leicester, while they had plenty of possession, they weren't really getting anything at Fabianski. And then we made it look quite simple. That first half hour, I thought there was 2 sides. You tell we were both at the bottom half of the table. It was a little bit scrappy. There was no one really in the middle of the pitch really wanting to take a hold of that game by the scruff of the neck and dictate play. There was none of that. Mate, Anderson was quiet. Everyone was quiet in that pitch for the first half hour. But then it's typical. That set piece then opens the scoring in this type of game, Charlie. You could be forgiven for saying this is maybe a training ground move, actually. It was that sophisticated if you all in. Diop does really well because he just stands still, but what he does is create a lot of room for Declan Rice behind him. Rice to Balbuena. He probably should have scored with his header, but hit the post, come across the face of the goal. And for some reason, from Anderson kicking it, hadn't moved until they still hadn't moved. But it was 1-0 West Ham. Good goal.
Yeah, and like you say, it was almost training ground-esque. Diop attracting all the attention just like he is in the press by just standing still, and then people flooding towards him thinking he was the threat. And it's becoming an annoying habit saying Balbuena probably should have put that in with his head, but then thankfully he actually got up and reacted quickly, which is something I get so frustrated at when we don't do, when there's a chance to be had, but we just don't react quick enough. And apart from Hernandez, I don't think any of our players ever react quick enough to chances like that. But he got up like a lightning and put it in the back of the net. And I think that not only was the goal good, I think given the period of time before that, it was probably arguably deserved, because like you say, they were creating, Leicester were creating chances, but a lot of them were just pot shots from range, and they weren't really testing Fabianski to any real degree. And so for us to pop up with such, it was almost too simple. It was almost too simple. Shows that again they were there to be got at. That defense wasn't as strong as they should be, and that we could have pushed on and perhaps got more in the game if other stuff hadn't happened.
Well, for the next 8 minutes, we got the foot on the ball. We started moving the ball about and keeping possession, etc. We started controlling the game, and then Mark Noble decides to get sent off, Charlie. And what's your view on this? I'm not going to say anything about the red card because I don't want to hinder your opinion or persuade you in any sort of way. What did you make of it?
It's a definite red. I think that I think it's unfortunate because he doesn't mean to lunge in like that. It's a poor first touch, and then I don't blame him for reaching to try and get the ball back. It's one of the reasons I love Mark Noble is the fact that he won't give up on stuff like that, and that's why he can be so effective in the middle of the park. But once he lost control of that ball, it was a big stretch to get to it. His foot seems to go, for a start, it definitely goes over, and it definitely hits whichever the player was in the ankle. but it does seem to go in front of the ball as if he knew it was going to be a lunging, dangerous tackle. And I think he is slightly unfortunate that the foot comes in and it just makes connection. But having said all that, it is a definite red card, because if the Leicester's player's foot is firmly entrenched in the ground and the studs are there, then we could have seen potentially a second ankle break on a Leicester City player today. And so for me, it's a definite red card. I think that I don't necessarily blame Noble for trying to get there, but he maybe should have had the sense that it was a bit too far.
Yeah, it was just sloppy from Noble, I thought. I think it was sloppy play. He lost possession. He shouldn't have lost possession. There was not gone in with force, I don't think. He's just gone in to try and retrieve the ball or block the ball from being passed. I think it was Ndidi caught. I think he's just trying to stop Ndidi from play ball then. But unfortunately for Noble, he's mistimed everything. He's slow at everything. He's just hit him above the ankle. If he'd somehow gone between Ndidi's legs, for example, he probably would have got a booking for it, because it just looks like he's took him down. But because he makes the contact, it is a red card. And at the end of the day, I'd be sitting here saying it should be a red card, because it is studs above Ndidi's ankle. It's a red card for me. Stupid boy, though. He doesn't need to do that. It's in the middle of the pitch. Leicester were not dangerous. There was no tempo of the game. The rounders had gone in already, I thought, but I don't think it had that type of tackles going in. And I just silly from Noble, especially when you're the captain. You need to be the leader, and it's just a stupid thing to do from Noble. And he's cost his team 2 points. We'll discuss that at the end. But from then on, Charlie was backs against the wall, managing it still half time, which is obviously what you have to do. Get in, let your manager reorganise. Leicester tried to do some time, but the whole second half, Charlie was simply backs against the wall.
It was David Moyes-esque, wasn't it? But except we had more players on the pitch than when David Moyes did it. I think that we actually defended relatively well. There were times where we were way too open down the flanks again. I could not be more confident in the central column defensively of our pitch. Balbuena, Diop and Rice is just dream come true for me. That's such a good, solid connection there. And I don't get concerned that anyone's going to break that down relatively easily. But down the flanks, we do consistently concede crosses, I think, way, way, way too easy. And I think there's a lot of people at fault for that. But we defended well. And every time they did seem to create a chance that was actually in the area, they got offside, and the only reason they created is because they had strayed offside. And I think that's unfortunate for Leicester, and shows that they were at least trying stuff. But finally, the defensive solidity and the defensive organisation seems to actually be paying off and actually working out. And that almost suicidal high line we were playing at the beginning of the season, which seemed to be our downfall so often, is actually coming into play and helping us a little bit here. But it was backs against the wall. But I think we defended very, very well, and actually almost every single one of the players on the pitch should take credit for that, because I think it was a great defensive performance in the end.
I think I would add to your trio there, I would add Fabianski, make the diamond, if you like, because I think he's a massive part of that. And I completely agree with what you're saying. But I know it's frustrating, they're pinging in a lot of crosses. I think Zabaleta deals with it quite well, actually. Yes, Chilwell got some in, but they weren't. You could tell there was a lot of times Chilwell was having to pass it backwards rather than Zabaleta was in his way, or because he wasn't confident taking Zabaleta on, despite when it was a sprint race, he was beating Zabaleta every single time. But Zabaleta, as we know, is clever enough to not match him for pace, not to let the battle turn into a sprint, because he knows he's beaten. So he backs off and thinks, I'm going to stand on my 18-yarder. And if you can sprint past me and create enough room behind space of 18 yards, and fair play to you, because it's a very difficult thing to do, and it very rarely happens, because by the time you do get past him, chances are someone's covering Zabaleta's there in front of you as well. It's the other side of the pitch that I thought Albrighton was one swinging the balls in too much. They were making it as well. We were dealing with them quite comfortably until Vardy come on. I thought Vardy was getting a little bit of good heading. Luckily, his heading wasn't on form today, but that's something we just have to accept, I think, Charlie, because Rice did a good job in the middle of the park, which forces Leicester out wide, and they've got to come at you some way when they've got somebody that came down the flanks in the middle of the pitch. And I think the players that they were having to come down the sides, that a lot of crosses, there was only, you could count in one hand how many were actually good.
Yeah.
because they were getting dealt with very easily as well. They did have a couple of chances though, Leicester. They've already come close with one of his headers. Maguire hit the bar. We had one chance when Ogbona's header he'd literally been on the pitch for about 5 seconds though. And then in the 89th minute, we could feel it coming. The West Ham appears. Ndidi hits a 25-yard out shot because they can't get the crosses in. He's now decided he's going to have a shot from distance. Hits Balbuena, loops into the top corner. It's just one of those goals. Or Gonzo, whoever else say, show me a goal, show you a mistake. On this one, actually, I don't think you can pick out a mistake. I think you'd be very harsh for this.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I see teams, Chelsea was a good example when we faced them. So many shots from that sort of area, that sort of range. I'm just not scared. I'm just not scared. Like, it has to take something incredibly special from that sort of range to ping it into the goal, especially against the goalkeeper as good as Fabianski. And at that point, I just think, fair enough, good goal. This one was just unfortunate, wasn't it? I think that he had a couple of other shots during the game from that sort of range, and all of them were sort of speculative, wide, over, nothing really any scary. And I think actually it's probably the only way Fabianski was going to get beaten. I think you're right. I didn't say his name, but he is just as important as the other ones. I think the only way Fabianski was going to get beat today was by a deflection as wild as that one that starts, it deflects, it's going even wide then, but curves back into the net. I think it's incredibly fortunate, but it was the only way they were probably going to get a goal today.
Charlie, in a couple of games when we've lost, if you like, we've been critical of Pellegrini's substitutions, but when we've won, we've been praising his substitutions. Today, did he get it right for you? He did 3, took Antonio on for Hernandez, and he eventually brought Cresswell on for Diangana, and then he took on Ogbonna on for Anderson to really tighten up. About 7 defenders. We're finished with 7 defenders on the pitch. But did Pellegrini get his substitutions bang on? His hand was arguably extremely forced today. The only was Fredericks, but then it would have been instead of Cresswell.
Probably. I think I would have liked Antonio on earlier, which is a very rare thing for me to say, but I probably would have preferred Antonio to come on maybe at half-time for Hernandez. That's not a criticism of Hernandez. It's just not his type of game. When the balls come to him, it was very clear he was just going to win a foul, and then we try and move up the pitch, sort of almost American football style or rugby style. I would have put him on earlier. And then Ogbonna, I mean, like you say, his hand was forced. Personally, I would have gone for one of the young midfielders and tried to see something a little bit more. I don't know. I probably would have tried them out in a position they're used to, as opposed to shoving Ogbonna there. But it worked out, and I don't think we can really have any complaints apart from the Antonio one that Ogbonna was the guy to come on, because it sort of it made sense, and again just solidified that central column even more than it was already.
Yeah, I actually thought Antonio played well when he come on. It was the right substitution. It would have been nice. I would have made it earlier as well. Half-time's good, but the only problem with doing that, though, Charlie, is if we conceded quite early in the second half, the chance of us scoring is pretty slim. So I think that's why he's probably kept Hernandez on, just in case we conceded early on in the second half. Get Antonio on, because he did start to win us a couple of free kicks, even just throw-ins, even when it gets cleared. If he can just... Even if he nods out for a throw in something, because when Hernandez was on the second half especially, the ball was just coming right back at us for about 10, 15 minutes. Every time we cleared it, it just started coming back at us. And I thought the substitution was the right time. The other ones, I can completely understand why he's done them. He's reluctantly taken off his attackers and put his on his defenders. He just had to time out to perfection in a lucky deflection. 1-1, though, are you happy with the point? Does it feel like 2 points dropped to you, or is it a point deserved? How are you feeling? 1-1.
There was, I'm not going to lie about it, there was a moment towards the end where I thought, oh my God, we're actually going to hold on to this. We're actually going to get 3 points, but it wasn't meant to be. I think given the way the game played out, I'm happy enough with a point. I'm happy enough with I've been critical a lot recently, saying that I think we've played relatively well, but we're just not getting the points to match that, and it's because we concede stupidly. And I think that today we played very, very well. And I think if we had got the 3 points, although you could have said that it was a smash and grab almost, and that we might not have deserved it because of the fact Leicester had utterly dominated due to the fact of us having 10 men, I don't think you could complain that much because of how well we defended. Given that, though, I'm happy with a point, because let's be honest, it was all them in that second half. We created very, very, very little. Like, there's the ones you mentioned, and then that one Antonio chance where he basically passed it to Schmeichel. And I think, given that, I'm happy with a point. But there is a very, very small amount of disappointment in me.
Before the game, I would have been happy at the point. I thought we'd have got beat today. I would have been delighted with a point before the game. Now I feel like it's dropped a little bit because I think we deserve defensively. I think we deserve to come away with all 3 points there. Nobody did anything wrong during the game. The only person who's done one thing wrong is Mark Noble. But apart from that, we didn't make any errors. The team was solid. The players can be proud of their performance tonight. Every single one of them that come off that pitch tonight at the end of the game can be proud of what they've done. They all worked hard. The work ethic was fantastic. How many times in the last 2 seasons under Moyes and Bilic have we seen us crumble in these positions where we go 1 up, team puts a little bit, just panic, and everything just comes at us and ends up being 4-1 Leicester in this type of game. We're showing a spine, and I don't just mean like the team's spine. I mean, we're showing that we've turned the season to men this season, if you like. You've seen at the end Chilwell and Zabaleta having an argument. You can see Zabaleta saying to Chilwell, just man up, and you know, this type of attitude we needed. And today they all did absolutely fantastic. There's 1 or 2 players we'll speak about in a second that I thought were head and shoulders above the rest of our team, but I just wish a little bit of confidence into Anderson. The talent's clearly there. There's at times though he just passed it a little bit too easy. There was one point in the first half we were breaking on a counter attack, and it was 0-0 at time from their corner. And all he had to do was keep Rich open up, but he tried to pass it about the halfway line to Hernandez. There was a weak pass. Hernandez had to pass back, and he just needs a little bit of confidence. And it's a shame because again in the second half there was him and Antonio breaking forward, and he tried the very, very easy, safe option. Just give it to Antonio. There was no creativity, and it's frustrating. I just hope he does get this confidence, but we can see him open up a bit more because we're going to need it. And while this football isn't pretty for the neutral, this is exactly what Brighton did to us 2 weeks ago. And I sat here in the review saying, actually, Brighton deserved the 3 points because they carried out their game plan perfectly. So you do that, you deserve 3 points tonight. Our game plan perfectly. We adapted to the game plan perfectly as well. So I think we did arguably deserve the. I mean, it's unfortunate that we've only come away with 1. But individual players, Charlie, anyone that you'd like to praise or criticise or both?
The 4 specifically I've mentioned, I think deserve huge amounts of praise, and that's Balbuena, Diop, Fabianski, and Rice. Rice again is he's such a good defensive presence in the midfield, and I think that actually the midfield would not work as well as it does without him. The 2 centre backs, Diop, I'm just so confident. I'm so unbelievably confident in those 2, and that's something I don't think I've ever been able to say as a West Ham fan. And again, Fabianski, I think the only way he was going to get beat today, he didn't get challenged that hard, but the only way he was going to get beat today was by something like what ended up happening. I think outside of that, I think Snodgrass actually deserves a lot of credit. It's not natural for him to play defensive midfield in any way, shape or form. It's not even that natural for him to play centre midfield. He's a winger, and yet he fills in there and shows great determination. He passes the ball well. When he hits early crosses, they're really, really nice and really dangerous. And I think for him to stick in and defend the way he did today as well, though at times I could criticize his positioning slightly, but it's not his position. I think that's a huge credit to him, and I'd give him a lot of praise for that.
To add to Snodgrass, the only thing I will add to that is I thought he was very disciplined. He can be a bit reckless in the tackle sometimes, Snodgrass. He's on 4 cautions already. If Snodgrass got booked tonight, he'd be suspended. And I'm not saying he's on purposely didn't get booked, but we've seen a very disciplined. His feet a lot more. He was a lot calmer when he was tonight, and it was good to see him. We needed that because the last time we needed him, suspension. Declan Rice, though, is just special. You'll be hard pressed. I challenge someone to find 2 players, Rice and Diop, that can come to the age of 40 years old combined and find 2 players better than them 2. Them 2 are worth over 100 billion between them. They really are that bloody good. And I think Rice is actually becoming arguably our most important player, because tonight there was a lot of questions. What can we do without Arnautovic? Now, it wasn't brilliant, right? It wasn't. This wasn't a 10 out of 10 performance, but there was stuff there, right? Actually, I think we would struggle more without Rice, which is a bigger statement that might be. I'm not saying we can replace Arnautovic, but we do have some options. We don't have any options to replace that. What he does is just unreal. He really is a special talent, and the board really out now and get that boy signed up quickly, because the longer this drags on, the more he can demand, the more people are watching him. And every single week, I think it's nearly every game this season except the first one, Charlie, whenever Declan Rice is always in the short list of 3. He's always in the top 3, and he's done it again tonight as well. Diop, though, he is just... He really impressed me against Spurs, but again tonight there was 1 or 2 tackles he did. He shouldn't be making them. It's not normal. It's not. That's what you expect from the elite centre backs of the league, and Diop is making them, and he is a special talent as well. There's no one to criticise except Noble, really. Do you think he's let the team down, or is it just unfortunate and you write it off, or what?
Given the circumstance, I do think he has, just because without that red card, you'd fancy us to go and actually make something very good of this game. I think the way we were playing just before that maybe shows that. Of course, that's all hypothetical, but I don't necessarily blame him for what he did on a personal level. I think I understand he's someone who always plays on the edge. He is very, very up for it constantly, and when you have a player like that, he's going to make decisions like that, and it's unfortunate, but it's rash and it's stupid on his behalf. So unfortunately, I do think some of it will have to go down as his fault, but he'll know that, and he'll carry on doing it because that's just the player he is. But
I think he's to blame for us losing 2 points to an extent, and those players were on the floor at the end of the game. You can see they'd given 100%. They had nothing left to give, and they're up against it because of Mark. But it wasn't stupid like Arnautovic elbow at Southampton last season, stupid Andy Carroll elbow at Burnley, stupid. It wasn't stupid as in he'd lost his head and he's just completely gone and got a stupid red card. He was intending on going for the ball. He was going for the ball. The intention was there. He was just too slow, and his first touch was too sloppy. It's just one of those things. And very last player I want to quickly mention before we wrap this show up, Diangana, full Premier League debut. Very, very difficult circumstances to make it. Coming in for Yarmolenko when there's not much creativity in the team, a lot of pressure to put on his shoulders. He won the free kick, which led to our goal as well, which I think is important. I think we need to. I think he's probably one of the most powerful players on the pitch tonight. Actually, it felt like he was getting he was getting a hard time from Ben Chilwell. He had a hard game against him today. How do you think he fared?
Very, very well. He's not created an assist, he's not scored a goal, but he is a constant presence, and he did get back very well. He dropped back well, he got involved, and then when we broke forward, he was one of the players who I wanted the ball to land to. I wanted him to have the ball, because when he was on it, they looked shaken by it. Leicester looked like they didn't quite know how to deal with it, and like you say, the free kick is a byproduct of that. He is growing into that position. And I think it would be harsh to drop him from any of the forthcoming games because he has been playing so well.
He was fearless. That's what I liked about him today. Anderson, while I just spoke about Anderson, he had a little bit of fear about him. He isn't that confident or whatever. You can see he's in his shell. Diangana wasn't. He was out there. When he got the ball, he was happy to go direct. He was happy to try and take players on. When Zabaleta and Noble, particularly in the first half, that 3 in the triangle, Zabaleta, Noble, and Diangana, they were working well together. He was demanding the ball off them. He's pointing at Zabaleta, telling him where to go, etc. Because that's what you should do when you're in the final third. It should be the attacker that tells the defender where to go so he can play his own game and stuff. He won the free kick, which led to our goal. He caused a few Leicester players problems throughout. I don't know, obviously, but I would put money on it that he covered the most ground today out there for West Ham, especially in the second half. There's sometimes he was over on the other side of the pitch because he was just tracking a player or he was chasing the ball down, etc. He had a little bit of snodgrass about him with his work ethic, and I like that. He is very raw. You can tell he's very raw. There was 1 or 2 decisions he made which wasn't mature, if you want to call it that. The more experienced player would have took his time and kept possession, but there's a couple of shots he had from distance where I don't think it was the right decision. But you know something, if it flew in, we'd all be sitting here praising him for taking the shot on and stuff. And that's exactly what we want to see. I thought he had a very good debut, and I think he keeps his spot for the Burnley game next week. I think he'll have an easier game against Burnley as well, especially at home when the crowd, we'll talk about a confidence cloak for Anderson. The crowd will give Diangana a confidence cloak because he will look after you. Anything you try, even if you try something really ambitious and doesn't work, we'll stand and applaud it because we know what this is. It's an 18-year-old, etc., etc. We finished the game today with, well, he didn't finish pitch. We had an 18-year-old start, a 19-year-old start, a 21-year-old start. We've got some decent young players here, Charlie. Any final words before I get your man of match?
I think it's just worth reiterating again how good defensively that display was in that second half. We've looked weak at times defensively, and we look like sometimes we just don't know what's going on. But that half of football, if that was against any team once you're down to 10 men, it's very, very, very tough, especially someone as important as Mark Noble. And we stood up today and we just basically said, come out, let's try whatever you can. And like I said, we conceded too many crosses, but that was because that's the only way they were going to get anything today. That was the only way they could find any space to get the ball into the box. And the amount of times they shot from outside the area shows just how solid our defense was today. And I think everyone from a defensive aspect actually deserves credit for that.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I would have been happy to point before the game, but after the game, all three, not disappointed. The players just disappointed with the situation, etc. All the players did well. Everyone was a 7 out of 10 for me. Maybe 1 or 2 there was a 6 or something, but there was no one awful. No one stood out as being horrendous, etc. But Pellegrini got his tactics correct as much as he could. His hand was very, very forced at the start of the game and during the game. It was forced a bit, but everyone did what they could, really. A lot of positives to take from tonight's game, I think, which is a little bit different to what we've said for the last couple of games, perhaps. But I think there's only 2 players in contention here, Charlie, Diop and Rice, unless you're going to pull something out of the bag here. But who would your man of match for tonight be?
No, I agree. Part of me I sort of love Fabianski, and I think that he kept us in it a lot, but also he just wasn't tested enough to get man of the match. For me, it's Diop. Diop just cannot. There's no player in the Premier League right now who I'm scared could step to Diop and take the ball past him. The dude is just a rock. He is just a rock. They come at him, and like you say, there were some times where he shouldn't be able to make the challenge he is, but he just is, and he's winning the ball completely perfectly, completely cleanly. And then when he's on the ball, I don't think his passing is particularly great by any chance, by any imagination, but it's even when he's on the ball and they're pressing him, I'm just not concerned. He's just got this calm, cool, collected attitude about him that when he wins the ball, I'm 90% confident he's just going to pick the right layoff, and then we can build from there. And I think that's, for someone of his age, coming across from another division, having to adapt to everything else, is about the biggest compliment you can ever give. And there's no wonder why there has been a lot of speculation about major teams being interested in him, because I think right now he walks into any team in the Premier League right now straight as a starting centre-back. That's just how good he has been playing.
I think part of the reason Diop looks so good is Balbuena as well. I think they do complement each other so well. Diop I think it's those... I don't want to say Bobby Moore-esque challenges, but you know what I mean. It's those replay on the camera tackles that he does. You know, like when a keeper makes a fancy save, he says it's a camera save. Diop does like these camera tackles, doesn't he? Where he shouldn't be winning them, but he is. To be fair, that's the only difference between him and Balbuena, actually. I think both their positioning is just as good as each other. In the air, they're just as good as each other. But it's just Diop's tackle and awareness, his pace is incredible. He is lightning fast for a centre-back as well. I think them two are just, let's just hope them two stay fit for the whole season, because we've got something very, very special blooming there, actually. Credit to whoever's responsible for signing both of them. Let's say it is Pellegrini and Huselos, then massive credit goes to them, because that centre-back period cost 24 million, and that is an absolute snip in this day and age in the Premier League football. Well, we were clinging on like Sean Locke is to his marriage on Strictly Come Dancing the last couple of weeks, but we didn't quite get on. But it's a good point. But you said Diop. I'm going to say Declan Rice. I thought Diop was better in the second half, but I thought Rice in the first half especially was just the best player on the pitch. And in the second half, he was missing no ball. He would have had to step up a lot in there, Declan Rice. He would have had to do a lot of stuff we don't see. The organisation, the communication. We spoke about how well Snodgrass did it. I wouldn't be surprised if Declan Rice has a massive hand in that, and telling it to Snodgrass to get in there and stay there, etc., etc. He would have had a lot of responsibility on his shoulders tonight, Declan Rice, and he did it fantastically. 2 special players at West Ham United, indeed. But anyway, you guys let us know what you think. Leave it in the comments below. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. We'll be back on Monday night, actually, because we've got the preview for the Spurs Cup game where Anajovic and Obiang is expected to be back. And we'll be back telling you if we think West Ham will win our second cup final of the season.